There are over 3 million licensed real estate agents in the United States right now. 3 million. And the vast majority of them look exactly the same online. Same generic headshots, same just listed posts, same motivational quotes on a Monday morning. Nobody remembers them. Not because they're bad agents, but because they never gave anyone a reason to remember them. That is a personal brand problem. And is the single biggest reason why most agents constantly feel like they are starting from zero. Because when people can't remember you, they can't refer you. They can't call you first. They can't recommend you to their friends. You are invisible. Today I want to talk about how to fix that. Because building a personal brand as a real estate agent in 2026 is not about having the most followers or the most polished content. It's about two things and two things only: authenticity and consistency. Those two things built my brand, and I believe they will build yours too. My name is Scott Kumler, and I'm a real estate team leader based in Arizona. Let's get into it. Before we get into the how, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing when we say personal brand. Because most agents think personal brand means logos, color, and a catchy tagline. That's not a brand. That's graphic design. Your personal brand is what people think and feel when they hear your name. It's the reputation you have, whether you've intentionally built it or not. And here's the thing most agents don't realize. You already have a personal brand. Every agent does. The question is whether you've built it intentionally or whether it's just happening to you by default. If you've never thought about your brand, never posted consistently, never been clear about who you are and what you stand for, your brand exists. It's just invisible. And an invisible brand is almost the same as no brand at all. So when I talk about building a personal brand, I mean making an intentional decision about what people think and feel when they hear your name, and then show up consistently in a way that reinforces that. For me, that's always been about two things: being authentic and being consistent. Let me break both of those down for you. The first pillar of personal brand is authenticity. And I want to be very specific about what I mean by that, because authenticity has become one of those words that gets thrown around so much it almost loses its meaning. For me, authenticity in business comes down to one simple principle: say what you will do and do what you say. That's it. That's the whole thing. It sounds simple, but I promise you, in an industry full of agents who overpromise and underdeliver, this alone will set you apart. Think about the last time you worked with a business, any business, where someone told you exactly what was going to happen and then it happened exactly that way. How did that feel? It felt remarkable because it's rare. In real estate, agents promise the world during the listing presentation. They say they'll call every week, they say they'll market aggressively, they say they'll be available whenever you need them, and then they don't. Or they do it inconsistently, or they disappear once the contract is signed. That gap between what they promised and what they delivered, that is a brand killer, because clients talk and they remember. Authenticity in your brand means closing the gap completely. If you tell a client you're going to call them every Friday with an update, you call them every Friday. If you tell a seller you're going to put out 20 signs for their open house, you put out 20 signs. If you tell an agent you're going to follow up with them next Tuesday, you follow up next Tuesday. Not because someone is checking on you, because that's who you are. And here's what happens when you operate this way consistently over time. People start to describe you to others before you even show up. They say, Scott is someone who actually does what he says he's going to do. That's it. That becomes your reputation, your brand. Let's talk about how authenticity shows up in your content, because this is where most agents get it wrong. Authentic content is not polished content. It's real content. It's showing people what your actual day looks like, not a highlight reel version of it. It's being willing to talk about the deals that were hard, not just the ones that closed smoothly. It's letting people see your personality, your values, and your genuine perspective, not a curated version of what you think people will want to see. I built my brand by being exactly who I am, online and in person. What you see in my social media is what you get when you sit across from me at a table. Same energy, same values, same honesty. That consistency between who you are online and who you are in real life, that's what authenticity actually looks like in practice. And people feel it, they trust it, and they refer it. The second pillar is consistency. And if authenticity is about who you are, consistency is about how often you show up as that person. Here's the hard truth about building a personal brand. It does not happen fast. I've watched agents post 5 times, get discouraged because nothing happened, and quit. I've watched other agents post consistently for 2 years and completely transform their business from the inside out. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't production quality. It wasn't follower count. It was consistency. Here's what I know from my own experience. By year 2 of posting consistently on social media, 50% of my entire business was coming from social media. Half of my business from showing up consistently week after week, month after month. Not because every post was great, not because everything went viral, but because over time, People in my network started to think of me automatically when real estate came up. They'd see a post from me on a Tuesday morning, then another one on Thursday. Then they'd see me at an open house on a Saturday, and over months and months of that pattern, they stopped having to remember I was a real estate agent. They just knew because I had shown up so consistently that I was simply part of the fabric of their feed. That is what consistency does over time. It doesn't just build awareness, it builds top of mind. And top of mind is everything in this business because when someone is ready to buy or sell, they call the agent they think of first. Not the best agent, not the most credentialed agent, the one they think of first. Consistency is what makes you that agent. Now, let me give you a practical framework for what consistency actually looks like because I don't want this to be abstract. First, pick a post frequency you can actually sustain. 3 times a week that you actually do is infinitely better than 7 times a week that you burn out on after 2 months. I would rather post 3 times a week every single week for 2 years than post every day for 6 weeks and then disappear. Disappearing is the brand killer. Consistency is the brand builder. Second, show up across multiple platforms. Short videos, behind the scenes stories, educational posts, personal moments. Not every piece of content needs to be a production. Some of your most powerful brand building will come from a 60-second video you film on your phone, in your car, between appointments, because that moment is real and real connects. Third, be consistent in your message, not just your frequency. Consistency isn't just about how often you post, it's about what you stand for, showing up the same way every single time. If your brand is about authenticity and doing what you say, that value should show up in your content consistently, in how you talk about your clients, in how you handle difficult situations publicly, in every piece of content you put out. Because brand is not what you say who you are. Brand is what people consistently experience from you over time. Okay, so you understand the 2 pillars, authenticity and consistency. Now the question most agents ask is, but what do I actually post? And I want to give you a simple framework that I've used and that I teach the agents on my team. Content bucket 1, behind the scenes of your real life as a real estate agent. Show people what your actual day looks like. Setting up signs for an open house, driving to a listing appointment, walking through a property before a showing. This type of content does 2 things at once. It reminds people you are a real estate agent and it shows them that you actually work. Most agents post listings and market updates. Almost nobody shows the behind the scenes work. That gap is your opportunity. Content bucket 2, your genuine perspective and opinions. What do you actually think about the market right now? What advice would you give first time buyers in this environment? What's the biggest mistake you see sellers make? People don't just want information, they want your perspective on the information. That's what turns a viewer into a follower and a follower into a client. Content bucket 3, your values in action. Did you go above and beyond for a client this week? Did you have a hard conversation that needed to be had? Did you show up for an appointment even when it was inconvenient? Post about it, not to brag, but to show people what working with you actually looks like, because your values are only as real as the evidence you provide for them. Content bucket 4, educate your audience. Short, practical content that makes someone smarter about real estate in 2 minutes. 3 things to look for at an open house. How to evaluate a neighborhood before you buy. What agents wish sellers knew before listing. This type of content builds authority, and authority builds the kind of trust that converts strangers into clients. You don't need all 4 of these every week. You just need to rotate them consistently. Post something behind the scenes. Post your perspective. Share your values. Educate your audience. Do that every week, every month, every year, and your brand will build itself. I want to close the teaching portion of this video with something I feel strongly about. Building a personal brand is a long game. It's not a campaign. It's not a launch. It's not something you do for 3 months and evaluate. It's a long-term commitment to showing up as yourself consistently and authentically until the market knows exactly who you are and what you stand for. Most agents quit before it works. They post for a few weeks, don't see immediate results, and conclude that it's not worth it. And then they watch another agent who kept going eventually become the name everyone in their market thinks of first. Don't be the agent who quit 3 months before the payoff. Here's what I want you to hold on to when it feels like nothing is happening. Every piece of content you post is a deposit into a trust account. You might not see the return on that deposit for 6 months, for a year, sometimes longer. But those deposits compound. And one day someone is going to reach out to you out of nowhere who's been watching you for months. They already trust you before they ever speak to you. They already know what you stand for. They already feel like they know you. And that conversation, because of all those deposits you made, starts completely different than any cold lead ever could. That is what a strong personal brand actually produces. Not followers, not likes, trust at scale. Let's bring this all together. Your personal brand is not your logo or your colors. It's what people think and feel when they hear your name. Pillar 1, authenticity. Say what you'll do and do what you say. Be the same person online that you are in real life. Close the gap between your promise and your delivery every single time. Pillar 2, consistency. Show up regularly enough that people can't forget you. Not because every post is great, but because you never disappear. Pillar 3, what to post, behind the scenes, your general perspective, your values in action, and educational content. Rotate through those 4 buckets and your content plan is done. Pillar 4, the long game. Brand is built over years, not weeks. Every post is a deposit. Keep making deposits even when you can't see the return yet. That is the personal brand framework that built my business. And I believe if you apply consistently, it will build yours too. If you're a real estate agent who knows you need to build your brand, but you're not sure where to start, or you've started and stopped many times than you can count, I want to have a conversation with you because brand building is something I believe deeply, and it's something I actively help agents on my team work through. I do one-on-one Zoom calls when we walk you through where you are, what's been holding you back, and what a realistic brand building plan actually looks like for your specific situation. No pressure, no preach. Just a real conversation with someone who has lived this and figured out what actually works. The link to book directly on my calendar is in the description below. It takes about 30 seconds to book a time that works for you. And if this video gave you a clearer picture of what brand actually means and how to build it, subscribe to this channel. I post content every week for real estate agents who want to build something real, not just survive another year in this business. I'm Scott Kumler. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.